If anything was going to get my lazy ass out of bed for long enough to make a video, it's this. I'd Nordwand. I've adored this track ever since I booted up my PS3, popped in GT5 Prologue and was stunned by what my PS3 was capable of. And it's still wowing me to this very day on PS5. And it's not just for the curves of the track itself. Outside the track we've got birds chilling on cabins, cows chilling on hilltops, butterflies are among the flowers, and even foxes just strolling about like they own the place. But all of this was just the headline of the 1.49 update. What really caught my attention was this. Oh no, wait, wrong video file, that's just a combi dry hump on a mountain. Nothing to see here, move along, because what I really want to talk about is this. New tyres and a new tyre model. But not only that, they've gone and fiddled with the assists too. What all this means is, we're gonna have to take a look. When GT7 first came out, I compared its physics to GT Sport and found that GT7's tyre physics were really tail happy and times in GT Sport were much faster. Then, not long after that, a patch came through, changing the physics, this time giving the cars more rear grip on corner exits, which dropped lap times and made the game a lot easier. But that was update 1.13. That was a long time ago and plenty has been done to the game since then. It's update 1.49 now. So what's changed? Well, we know from the trailer and patch notes that the focus was on tyres, so that's where my focus is here. To test grip under acceleration, I'm taking the GR Supra in stock config and launching it at max revs with auto gears. Here's the OG GT7 versus GT Sport. Off the line, GT Sport had a lot more grip and hit 110 by the 100 meter mark, while GT7 was still at 109. Jumping to the 500 meter mark and the gap is closing with both games hitting 192. If we let them drag all the way to 3 kilometers, then GT7 is hitting 290, and strangely, GT Sport has kicked to 296. But that's the old news. What's this new update do? Well, by the 100 meter marker, the new physics are at 114, clearly faster than the 110 and 109 of GT Sport and the OG GT7. At the 500 meter mark, both GT Sport and the old GT7 were sitting at 192, but this new update has a Supra at 196. But what about that 3K marker? Will it kick like GT Sport did? Well, that's 289 at 3K, so in terms of top speed at least, this new update seems slower than both. But we can add a little measure of torque to this mix because beyond that 3K mark, there's a huge hill. GT Sport hits 289 and the OG GT7 hits 287, really closing the gap. This new update shares the same characteristics as the old version, only losing 4K up the hill. So what's changed? There are so many variables I can only start to guess. Clearly there's more tyre grip, at least in a straight line. And they did mention changes to rolling resistance, so perhaps that accounts for the loss of top speed. Whatever the reason, it seems that today, GT7 has more straight line grip, which sees you launch much faster, but on the flip side, it's got a lower top speed than ever. In theory, this should lead to some lap times getting smashed, so let's test that. In the first big physics update, I took that same Supra to Tsukuba and showed how the improved traction in version 1.13 led directly to better lap times. Here is that 1.13 update on the right in all its irony saying that it's the new update, while on the left is the actual 1.49 update. I will let this just run through the lap and you can tell me if you can spot anything interesting, because at first glance, I thought it was pretty much like for like, but then really looking at it, there have been some major changes to the physics and systems in GT7. At this stage, it's still pretty much neck and neck as we go onto the Dunlop Bridge. You can see that the old update actually seems more stable. It seems like the back of the car is sliding around a lot less and seems a lot easier to drive. But looking at the times, somehow the new update has leaked ahead and it's just no contest as we speed down to the final turn. Jumping to that final turn, and even that looks fairly even in both, but across the line the new update takes it by over a second. So where did all that extra speed come from? Well, it really seems like that the straight line tyre grip is just extra grip all around. And we can see this in apex speeds. In turn 1, the new update hits 64 km per hour versus 59 for the old one. That's a huge difference, and the next turn, it's 56 versus 54, and this looks very much like a smoking gun. But what the hell do I know? Because through Dunlop, the old physics take the crown 93 to 99, and in the big hairpin, it's 55 versus 56. So maybe not apex speeds then. Honestly, for every variable that I tried to consider, there was one corner where it seemed better and another one where it was just worse. But luckily, there's this. In this test, I'm taking that same stock Supra up to 300 k's and just slamming on the brakes. The interesting point here though, is that since this update has a slower top speed, I needed to install a racing ECU in the Supra just to get it anywhere near that 300 k's. In this instance, I was only doing like 299, but close enough, right? When I slam on the brakes at the 1000-meter mark, it's quickly obvious that the brakes work better now. There's a lot of distance between where the car on the left and where the car on the right has stopped. That's a chunk of lap time right there. Which segues me nicely to this. Look at all that red on the braking. The GT7 manual says that this is the amount of pressure reduced by the effective ABS, which looks to be about accurate as of this update. I just somehow never noticed that when GT7 launched it had braking graphs as per the latest update, but then they changed that to all red, and now they are white with red showing ABS again. It seems they've been fiddling with the brakes the whole time. It's not just ABS though, it's TCS too. After the run with TCS off at Tsukuba, I decided I should try a run with TCS set to something other than off. The ghost ahead is my best time with TCS off, and as you can see, it's getting its ass kicked. But I think this is all down to me just driving a bit better, because when I study the replay, I don't actually engage TCS all that often. But this does mean that it clearly wasn't hindering me. All in all, I really need to take a deep dive into all the assists of GT7, as they're not like they were in GT Sport, and they're clearly not even the same as when GT7 first came out. One thing that I've neglected to test so far though is suspension. This is a tough one because it's often really subjective, but what isn't subjective is the way this car lands. Look at it, only rodeo clowns get thrown that hard. On the new physics though, it just sticks to the landing. It's got more poise than an Olympic gymnast. Those rally physics aren't quite the same, and I'm all down for that. And talking about things not being quite the same, wheel support is all over the place. For me with a Logitech G Pro, the force feedback on the last update felt pretty great, and using the settings provided by Logitech themselves was pretty awesome. However, now that the full force of the wheel has been unlocked, I can't say I'm liking it too much. Logitech via Instagram say to turn everything up to 11, but with max force the wheel fights like a bull, and turning true force up to 150 like they say to do makes my hands go numb with all the road buzz. I don't quite know what they were thinking suggesting those settings. I'm going to have to turn true force back down to something more reasonable and new to the Newton meters of the wheel so it stops trying to kill me until they provide some updated settings. I'm gonna go and lose some daily races, and then after that, maybe test some assists. Until then, see me next time.